As teenagers or young adults, we are the first generation to grow up with the presence and the rapid expansion of social media. We've heard countless stories about the good old days where kids would just play outside all day, and the concept of an iPad kid would not even be fathomable, where technology and smartphones weren't an integral part of our day-to-day lives. Our parents and grandparents grew up with totally different childhoods to what we did, and our kids will likely have a very different experience to us too. But no matter how we compare how we grew up, the reality is that it is 2023 and social media is not going anywhere. Technology is going to continue to be part of our daily lives in ways that we might be yet to even comprehend. I feel like there's been a lot of talk and research in this area, especially in the past couple of years, and we're starting to realize that being online so much and being on social media can be more harmful than what we might think. Lots of people are choosing to disengage from social platforms after being on them for years and deleting their online presence. But there can be a lot of good things about staying connected in this way, and for the first time ever, we're able to take advantage of the ways that it can help us grow our business or to spread positive messages or art or help in so many niche and specific ways that we just couldn't before. I feel like it's so easy to be swayed in either direction depending on who you're around and how you're using social media, and that's kind of where the problem lies here. Social media itself is not the enemy, but rather our societal addiction and growing dependence on it, which of course comes with the algorithms and the nature of how they were designed. But that's what I kind of wanted to talk about here and kind of compare both sides of the argument, because at the end of the day it is up to us to decide whether or not these apps are good for us or not, and how we might be able to use them to bring out more of the good sides. For the past few months, I've really been evaluating my own relationship with social media, and I'm going to be the first to admit that I had fallen into kind of like unhealthy habits with the way that I was using my phone. There were some weeks where my screen time was upward of 4 hours, maybe 5 hours a day, and most of that time would have just been spent interacting with these apps in ways that just weren't mindful. I just want to kind of emphasize how absurd that realization for me was when I saw my screen time being like 4 or 5 hours a day. Like, just envision a time block of that time, say in the morning, maybe, I don't know, when you wake up from like 7 till 11, and just imagine all the possible things you could do within that time. It just really starts to add up. Like 4 times 7 for every day is 28 hours a week. That is more than a whole day's worth of time. And one of the most common blockages or reasons that we tell ourselves that we're not able to do the things that we want to do, or excuses for a lack of a better word, is that we don't have the time. But I think if we all looked at our screen time on our phones and where we're actually allocating these busy hours of our day, I think we'll find that we often have a lot more time than we might imagine. And it's not necessarily about the time that we spend on our phones or social platforms, because sometimes you're traveling on public transport for an hour and it might be justifiable to be on your phone. It's a lot more about the subconscious ways that social media affects our brain chemistry. I don't want to get overly scientific here because frankly I don't think I'm necessarily qualified to do so, and it might not be my place, but social media really plays on the way that our brain uses dopamine, which is the feel-good neurotransmitter in our brain, or the little chemical that is responsible for reward and attention and pleasure, and it has also been linked to what constitutes you being able to form an addiction. Social media algorithms are fundamentally designed to trigger the release of dopamine and to keep us online, so I do want to say that it is absolutely not our fault that we're feeling that we need to constantly check our phone, or that we are getting hooked to these apps. But it is our responsibility to understand this and to learn and educate ourselves about what might perhaps be happening subconsciously, so that we can make informed decisions about how we want to use these apps, and so that we can consume and produce content in a more mindful way. There was a documentary on Netflix released a few years ago called The Social Dilemma, I believe, and that does go into these algorithms and how they are designed in a lot more depth, so I'm going to point to that rather than trying to explain it myself. Around the end of last uni semester, I deleted the TikTok app off my phone because I needed to concentrate more on my study and my assignments, and I felt like TikTok was the biggest distractor for me, like it is for most of us, because of the way that it's designed, where it is, like an endless stream of content that is designed especially for us to relate to. Because the content is kind of short form, it's really easy to hook our attention onto and to get us to swipe indefinitely. I was also posting some random little silly videos here and there, and watching those videos kind of get lots of attention is really exciting and releases lots of dopamine in our brains. A few weeks later, I deleted Snapchat and Instagram, which were the other social platforms that I used just to focus on exams, and then I was also going back home, so I wanted to spend that time with my family and friends without distractions of the outside world almost. My mind was feeling kind of exhausted after a big study semester, as you normally do, so I kind of wanted to just bring that attention back to me and focus on what was going on in my own mind, basically. I think I was only off for about 3 weeks, but it was long enough for me to notice those significant changes in how my mind worked and was reacting to things around me. I was starting to feel like I didn't need as much stimulation from things to feel good, and taking a break or a rest from social media and the constant flood of dopamine almost feels like you're resetting those base levels. I did download social media while I was overseas, mostly so I could feel like I was connected to my friends back home, and mostly my housemate, who was also overseas at the same time, so it was just an easy way for us to kind of keep in touch. But I did quickly notice and was reminded how easy it is to kind of slip back into those old habits, and it was such a big contrast to the few weeks that I had spent before without the social platforms. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I've deleted TikTok and Snapchat for good, and I'm working on using Instagram in a more sparing, mindful way. TikTok can be problematic in so many ways, from simply being a time waster to having the potential to be able to spread content worldwide in extremely rapid ways that is not necessarily good content. Snapchat can encourage a more shallow form of communication where, yes, you are connecting with people in some way, but it is not necessarily one that is meaningful or fulfilling to our needs of actual interaction. I think it also kind of gives people the opportunity to use the features that it kind of gives out in a more toxic way. Like, I have heard so many stories from friends about them, you know, checking snap scores or on the snap maps, like checking people's location and stuff, and being really anxious about who they're talking to and why they're not responding to them at a certain time. Instagram has been linked extensively in many research studies to correlate with poorer mental health and a dependence on external validation. YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Reddit will all have the negatives as well. But it's not all bad, and this is what I want to emphasize. And despite knowing the detriments that these social media apps can bring and experiencing firsthand the benefits of being off them for a little bit, I'm still choosing to keep my social media and to keep an online presence. I'm still sitting here today and filming this video to upload onto a social media platform for you all to see me and judge me and take in whatever I'm saying through your own filters of your own experiences and thoughts, because that's kind of what we have to learn to do, because social media isn't going anywhere, and if anything, it's going to continue to expand, and we are going to be left behind in ways if we stay oblivious to this. It's so important that we learn how to self-regulate and manage how we use these apps and set healthy boundaries so that we can enjoy more of the positives that come with living in the world that we do today. Because again, it's not really going to change just because, you know, we've deleted TikTok and Instagram and all the social media apps and we're totally disconnected from the world. Through YouTube and TikTok, in a way, I've been able to learn so many things over the years and, you know, feel inspired by people that I might not have in my immediate community around me that I wouldn't have been able to, you know, see otherwise. I've been able to research topics that I'm interested in. Everything that I've learned about the technical aspects of photography I learned online and through YouTube. I've been able to start to learn guitar because of YouTube, to learn different recipes, to follow yoga flows, to listen to TED Talks and podcasts and form important mindset shifts that shape me into who I am now. From Snapchat and Instagram, I've been able to keep in better touch with friends who don't necessarily live within my immediate demographic but are still extremely important to me and a big part of my life. From Instagram, I felt so inspired by different artists and, you know, poetry and fitness and different lifestyle concepts that have inspired me into how I would like to create my own life. Small businesses have been able to flourish because of social media. More and more artists are able to sustain their craft. People are able to make money online simply by being themselves and doing what they love, and with the right intentions this can be amazing. This is the generation where we start to shift out of our traditional 9 to 5 office job work model, and we have the opportunity, even if we don't take it, to be able to design our lives in a way that we would like and that would suit our needs and personal goals. To have more freedom to spread positive messages and to use the internet and technology to connect, to learn, to educate, and just in general for the greater good of what it was made to do. We can achieve this if we're mindful about the ways that we invest our energy into social media and learn how it works. So we aren't just blindly following algorithms, but instead having a healthy balance between our online life and what's actually in front of us every day. So I'm going to share a few ideas and ways that I've been using to create healthy boundaries around my social media use, because I don't want to be disconnected, but at the same time I don't want to waste my life away on my phone, and I don't want my already dopamine deficient brain to get hooked on whatever is presented to me. But hey, I'm still learning and figuring out how this is all going to work for me, and I'm absolutely not perfect, and I'm sure my social media use will fluctuate over time and my ideas might change and all that, but this is just what's true for me now. So the first and easiest thing to do is to simply just filter through your following on these accounts and remove anyone that makes you feel negatively, or people from high school that you barely know, or people that you don't necessarily keep in touch with, or whatever might be keeping your attention that you are recognizing, and instead keep your following to your friends and people who inspire you. Set a timer on your phone for apps that you are prone to overusing and getting hooked on, and really keep to it. When the timer does come on, acknowledge that and just get off the app for the day. You can kind of start more generously and then lower and lower as your habits improve. I know one of my friends sometimes deletes the actual app of his phone and then uses the web version of, say, Instagram instead, because it's a lot more clunky and I guess it doesn't hold your attention for as long. Find ways to fill your time and give you dopamine in other ways. So spend more time on hobbies that don't involve your phone. Journal. I'm always going to recommend to journal, and I know that it's not directly connected, but it just helps you learn so much more about yourself, and it perhaps might help you identify the reasons why you are feeling hooked onto these apps, or you are searching for external validation, or whatever other reason that prompted you to look into how you use social media. See your friends in person. The whole idea of social media is to stay connected, so why not stay connected? I actually found I saw my friends more when I didn't have the apps, because I was wanting that interaction, and I feel like on social media, when you kind of see your friends' stories and stuff, you're like, oh yeah, I've connected with them, like I know what's going on. You get a lot more excited to see people, and I'm someone who really values quality time, so you appreciate that time with your friends so much, and I found I can be more present when I don't have those distractions of social media and that kind of period in between where I can recharge my social battery a bit more. There are so many little things I could say, but at the end of the day, I do recommend taking a bit of a detox period, as cliche as that might sound. It can be every now and then, just to disconnect for a little bit so that you can kind of step back and look at your social media use from a more objective perspective and experience those benefits without totally disengaging if you don't want to. When you step away for a bit, you can kind of see where your relationship with technology might be a little bit more unhealthy, and you can kind of take that into account when you do return to the apps, and you can be more mindful with how you use it. This is a long video and I could say so much more about this topic, but I think I've said enough. I know some people might disagree, but I think I just kind of wanted to share what's true for me as of right now about my concept of how I use social media. This might not be how I feel forever, but noticing the difference in how my brain works when it is overstimulated by these platforms and constantly flooded with unfulfilling dopamine has made me a lot more conscious of my usage. It's really nice to feel a bit more focused and excited about ordinary things, and I think that our relationship with social media is something that we all need to think about so we don't become a generation of mindless consumers. Thank you so much if you've listened this far. Hopefully there is at least something of value somewhere within my words that you can take into your own experiences and help you reevaluate and have a bit of a think about what is and what's not important to you when using social media. I'm going to be working hard at the moment to kind of make a comeback into the YouTube scene and stay consistent with my uploads, so I'm planning on uploading every Thursday. So if you liked what I talked about or want to see more of my videos, there are more on my channel, and please do interact and subscribe if you did enjoy this one. I'll see you guys very soon. Bye!